Okay, so just in time today. Hello, nice to see you again, Michael.
Hello, welcome, welcome back.
Yeah,
Haven't seen you in
yeah,
a while.
yeah. So indeed. No, not only because of Las Vegas where you have been last time, but also because of
Yes.
lots of
Oh, that's
projects and
true.
lots.
The last time we talked when I was in Vegas. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah. Talked live, and yeah, the last talk was about mostly about the data ingestion part, and we thought, okay, this time we need to show some Power BI again, and at least I see your screen there, so
Yeah,
then you are able to show something. That's great
actually,
because
I discovered something, and
oh, okay.
it's not a big thing, but the point is
Mm,
we are talking a lot about DAX. We are talking a lot about complicated
mm,
stuff. But if you're starting with Power BI, in a lot of cases, you're not able to
mm,
write complex DAX. You can't do it. You just want to have easy solutions and do easy things.
mm,
And
yeah.
I was something we are really underusing in
Mm.
our daily work is the usage of the new visual level calculations. So
Okay, then I bring you to the screen
because
because I have to admit I don't have used it in production so far. I just used it when I creating my update videos and to
yeah.
show what's new about them.
So
But
let's
yeah,
assume
yeah,
I just bring in some visuals. So
your demos always look more nice than mine.
so let's do it with one KPI. So I just use a KPI. I bring in start of week. Let's do it with the weeks because Germans are loving their weeks. And let's do it with the revenue. So something you will see quite often, typical thing, a line where you see a lot of different stuff, a lot of different going on. You can filter it, obviously. So, and now something you sometimes want to do is, oh, I want to bring in moving average. So, and okay, you can bring in a moving average by calculating DAX. So
Yes, it's very complex DAX when you like.
so I also did this. So in German called rollierend, so moving average over 12 months. You can bring it in, and it's calculating something. Now it's in months, so obviously makes no
Mm.
sense to bring it in the weekly calculation. However, so you can calculate something like this mainly with this kind of calculations. So you're bringing a lot of different filters in, and you say you're building periods, and you're using this period for averaging stuff. So you can do the same also for rolling totals. So for moving totals, it's nearly the same calculation. Obviously, moving average quite often a use case. And now the new visual level calculation come into play. I can just bring this in here. So if I go for start, you see new visual level calculations. And the cool thing is, I didn't notice this. If you have the new version of Power BI, if you can click here, you get already some stuff you can just use. And if I
Mm.
click on moving average, next time I should also switch in German, in English. Now I get, okay, which field I want to use. I can now
Mm.
say, okay, it's Umsatz, and which window size, basically how many months, how many weeks I want to use. Let's say 12. And if I go for enter, now I got the moving average for 12
Mm.
weeks just by using this very, very easy calculations. And I really think something like this is often used in a business context because you do not need really the calculation in your data model, because it's something you want to present only in the context of a visual, only in the context of this kind of visual. So basically it's something we have to think about. And the next cool stuff is, if I'm now saying, okay, I want to calculate the deviation between this moving average and my revenue, I can just say, I use this minus, and this is something the people are used to use from Excel.
Yeah.
So they refer directly to columns, and they say, okay, I want to use this column minus this column. And if I click enter, I get a new column. And the cool thing is, because Microsoft also changed the visuals where you can use this visual level calculations, I now can bring in this grouped line and bar chart. And if I bring in the lines to here, and now I can see, okay, what is my deviation? I can see directly the deviation in the bars, and on top I can see how this one is against the other chart. So I think this is really something you can use in a lot of business use cases. And the cool thing is, if I'm going back now, I can directly also interact with this data, as you know. So I directly getting all the developments for here my educational levels, or I can change it to my age groups, and now I can filter it by age group and so on. So this is really, really cool. Yeah. So, and if you think about that, you can just by clicking bring in this visual level calculations here. So I can also say average on the totals, and now it provides me the average on the totals. So a lot of different calculations can be brought in automatically just by clicking here. And I don't have to remember all the calculation. I just can use this preset it up stuff. So I guess it's for business users really, really cool to use this kind of easy to use DAX formulas, and you don't have to remember some strange or complex DAX formulas.
So if anyone's already using it, one of the out of 2 or 3 persons that are watching now, just write it in the comments, and because it's quite impressive, and that's so logical that okay, of course it's easy to use. But these suggestions, yes, they are new, but before I think you could just click on this FX, and then you would have them too, right? Or is it just the technical name?
Now here I get also the suggestion.
Yeah, but then now it's even better, I think, when it's on the top. And
something I discovered. So obviously you can't use it with all the stuff. So I can't use it with the card. So it says, okay,
you have no context.
Yes, but something I did, I hope I can bring it back. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but something I can use, I can use it with InfoRiver. And if you use it with InfoRiver, as you can see, you also can assign the calculations to different stuff. So this was something I was surprised, because I accidentally used this, and I was, I can use the calculations, and I can set up the series, and now I can set up which series is which just by using this one here. So where it is now, I have to go for deviation. Obviously, should try this before. Can't. So, and now I can set up data here as you. Where is it? So, but I can set it up. So I should use it before if I want to demonstrate.
It's built in public. It's perfect. So
Yeah.
everyone can see that we are quite busy at the moment. We have to build such prototypes in public.
Yeah. So the thing
If
is,
anyone wants to sponsor, just write me a message.
I tried it before. So, oh yeah, here you can bring it in. So I can assign stuff here. You see the moving average is here, the revenue is here, and our calculation is here. So you see that we can assign the stuff we are in the visual level calculation within this this custom visual. And I was quite surprised to see that the custom visual supports the visual level calculations. This was something I didn't expect.
Me neither. It's cool. So it's about the context and not about the single visuals.
Yes. So now you can assign the stuff to different things. And this is something I really liked. Obviously, you have to assign stuff, and obviously, you have to bring in the right things here to the right tables. So if you go for a table like this, you see all the stuff is assigned, and now I can bring in the different things to different labels. So quite cool to do is with different visuals, but I didn't expect this to working. And this was one thing I discovered, what was quite something where I said, okay, I can use it within custom visual. So I expect in the future that a lot of custom visuals will also support this kind of visual level calculations. And I guess it makes a lot of sense because it makes it quite easy for some calculations to use it.
I think that this calculated measures in InfoRiver or inside of Zebra BI, they actually have been visual calculations all the time, right? Just not official, but proprietary.
If I go for Zebra, it said no, it's not working. So
okay.
they have a different approach. So as you can see, there are different stuff what can be done and what not can be done with different visuals. However, there's another thing I came up with in a meeting because a customer asked, and I really liked this. So let's assume the following thing: we have start of month. Let's bring in a new group. So we have not start of weeks, we have start of months. So months basically. So now we see all the months. And let's do some splitting. Let's split it in basically the age groups. So I can say, okay, I go for my customer and say I use small multiples. No, not the age groups. So I have two age groups. So now I can set up the custom and say, okay, let's do it like this. And something I quite often do, you know this, I quite often do something like this, that I say, okay, bring in a parameter, say, okay, let's go with where do we have the parameter? So let's start with a numerical value. And I say, okay, it can be between minimum is 0, maximum is, let's say it's 2 million. 1, 2, 3. Increment, we shouldn't do 1. It's obviously too big. Let's too small. Let's go with 10,000, and let's bring in a parameter. So if there are any question from the outside world, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I'm already watching this. I'm watching the chat, but the people are too shy, or we just alone. I don't know.
Yeah, no problem. So, and now we can bring in this parameter, and something what I really like is to say, okay, show me all the stuff over this parameter. And obviously I have to bring in a measure. And so far it's already, it's stuff we all know. So I can say color over parameter equals variable and we say red equals red. So let's say, okay, var underscore result equals, and now we just have to say, oh, we use an if. I know you don't like ifs.
The no if challenge.
The
We
no
have
if
to make
challenge.
the
No,
no if
I will
challenge.
just use this. I just use if my revenue, so my if my revenue is higher than my parameter, so I should always nice if you don't say which parameter this is.
Mhm.
It's parameter. As you can see, always name everything in the right way. Parameter 3. Okay. So I use parameter 3, value 4. So would be better if I start with good naming. And now I say return result. So obviously this will work quite easily. I got this value. Okay. I have to bring in red. Okay. Now I can go for the custom coloring and can say, okay, color the stuff based on my field value. Now I can say color, and if I do everything right, I should get red in a lot of months. So I can basically bring it in. And now something really, really cool. I can also bring in the same value, obviously here for analytics, and say I bring in a new line. Say, yes, I want to have a line, and I use my parameter value, and I see parameter 4. And this brings in this small line, and you directly see what is over and what is under. So, and now there was a question. Just alone. Thank you, Marcus. You're nice. Marcus is a really nice colleague. He says we are. And
yeah, we have one person watching.
No. And now the question was, okay, you want to show the months, in how many months this is over our threshold. So this is something I did before. So this is something I did before. I will bring this in. So months over threshold.
So
for example,
the first step was that because why it's so complicated, because you use the parameter, so the value, as some kind of filter, which is not very self-explaining, and now you're going to the next level and even count the dimension by the value.
Exactly. Now I count how many months were over the value. So if you have some kind of problems, you want to know in how many months you had problems in this both groups. For example, if you're talking about product quality, you say our product quality was below average expectations in 3 months or 5 months or so on. So this is what we are starting to do. Let's start this. So I say, okay, months with revenue higher than threshold. So, and here we are starting to say, okay, we want to have the months over this threshold. Therefore, we need the same virtual table, what is in the back, we have to bring in also for our filtering. So therefore we say, okay, variable. You see, I use a lot of variables to do so. Variable table. You could rename it in a little bit nicer way. So I always like to bring the underscore before my variables, because this ensures that I never can use any kind of function.
Yeah, me too. And that's also good for IntelliSense, because you already have to choose.
Yeah. So now I start with summarize. I'm not sure if it's now possible to use summarize columns. I not tried it again, because you can only use summarize and not summarize columns if you want to bring in some measures in Power BI with filter context. So summarize columns does not support the filter context. A little bit, I don't know why. Okay, let's move on. So we want to summarize. We want to summarize our fact table. So we want to summarize the revenue, the sales, Verkäufe. And I want to say by which stuff we want to group. We want to group by age group, and we want to group by start of months. So basically this enabling us to bring in the same granularity as we can see in this table. Obviously, if you want to use different dimensions, we have to group by different dimensions. So now I have to bring in a new column with the values. So I call it value. I could also say value revenue and say, okay, now I need the revenue. So my typical measure. So this creates a virtual table. Let's have a look how this can be looking. So this is also nice, is we now using the new DAX view. You can easily go here and say, oh, we can show this later, the new info function.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I can say evaluate. Because summarize is a table function, I just can bring it in. And I see exactly the same granularity as we can see in our table. So nice.
Yeah, this is indeed the best way to debug now, especially for tables. Before sometimes, of course, you have DAX Studio, but when you're just very quick and want to do something or cannot use it, I use the 2CSV function, and then I have to look in the table to if everything matches. So now it's much easier there.
So now, easy stuff. We want to filter it over the parameters. So we have to bring in the var equals. No, not equals. Var is a filter. Let's call it filter equals filter, because we're filtering now the table. And the filter for the table is we use table because we use our virtual table and say now value. So our value revenue, so this is our virtual value in the new table, is bigger than our parameter 4 value. And now we got a filter table with the values bigger than the parameter. Okay, step 2. Step 3, var. And I say, okay, now I want to get the values or the result. Result equals. I have a table only with values are bigger than our parameters. So now I can say count rows. And now I can say count rows based off our parameter. Now I can say not parameter, sorry, our filter, and bring in the return and say, okay, please result. So basically, Control Z. And if I now bring this in, I got the number. Let's have a look. I can just bring it in for this number here using months over, and I get 23. And something I really like to do at the moment, I just open one tool we all use a lot at the moment. I just open ChatGPT and bring in this formula. And just as you can see, I just copied this. And now it makes a format, and I can say, okay, can you explain and comment the formula So obviously, if you have Copilot, you can use Copilot, but a lot of us don't have Copilot. They may have this, and now you can bring in the comments directly. And as you can see, I can just copy paste this, and here I can just use it. So, and if everything working nice, it should work exactly the same way. Very cool.
The first line is the problem. It's just
oh yeah, this one here.
The Y is still sticking to the.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it. I see it.
There's a name, yeah.
Now,
oh, it's still problematic. Why?
I have no clue. This should fit.
Okay.
It's nice. Nice.
Oh.
Looks good. Yeah, it looks good. I don't know what.
Okay, if anyone can tell, but I will try.
Oh, nice. I will. So let's.
Okay. You will check up there. I just sorted it as a challenge to check, but okay. Of course, you don't have the equal sign at first, right? Or where is the name of the whole measure?
Yeah. That's nice missing. To see the mistakes also in. We can try it to solve it. Let's do.
Okay. Because it has commented our name of the measure.
The measure. Please
playing dump
it.
Playing dump with ChatGPT.
Yeah, it will. So it will. Maybe I also copy pasted. Yeah, I copy paste also the wrong thing. No, I didn't. So
forgot starting. I should shout it. ChatGPT now.
This works, but your measure don't. Now Ulrich is commenting. I am not sure what he's commenting.
Yeah, we are not alone anymore, I think.
Okay. Yeah, but obviously this, you see also ChatGPT makes strange mistakes, and I just copy paste this. But normally you can bring in comments, and this really helps you to understand your measures later on. So now it's working again. So far, so good. But now there's something what is really interesting. Someone asked me last week, okay, what happened if we say, okay, we want to know, because they talked about quality, we want only to know the months where we have at least one quality issue in one of our product groups. Think about, you have best age and senior, and if 1 month is red, you do not want to double count the months. You want to say, okay, we have in 2 months or 3. So for example, if I do like this, it's easy. We have 5 months, or we have 1 month with a problem. But if we are doing like this, let's do like this, we have this month, it's June 2017, and here it's also June 2017. So this would count as 1. So in total, we have not 13 months with problems, but we have 12 months with problems.
Just remove the dimension.
Yeah, but they want to show this. So they want to show this, and they want to think about, you could also bring in this as a KPI. that you say, okay, we have a granularity which is really, really fine, and we want to know if one of our products had a problem. We want to see, okay, this month had a problem with quality. If one of everything had a problem, you want to have a red sign, okay, this month had a problem. So basically you have to test each product before, and then you can say, okay, in this month there was at least one problem. And here you can say, okay, now I want to count the months with at least one problem. You understand the thinking of.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking, oh, well, how could I do this? And at the moment I thought, okay, now I have to bring in, let's say, another value, because now I have to bring in a value for the start of month, that I can filter on the start of month value as also, you know?
Yeah, or you can bring in a field parameter that chooses the dimension, like if it's Altersgruppen or just the months.
Yeah, but I want to count this. I don't want to.
I just wanted to make it more complicated as a challenge, but
Yeah, but
no, you can stick to your problem.
so why should I bring in a field parameter?
No, because I still think that you summarize a table like with certain dimensions, so
Okay.
you predefine the granularity. And
Yeah.
wouldn't it be cool that it's done dynamic?
Yeah, then
Because the problem of counting is just because it's the table is summarized in a certain way.
you had the same problem with if you're using field parameters, you have to bring it in for many field parameters, because you have to change the granularity of the table you're calculating always if you're using a different field parameter.
Yeah, and I was hoping it would be done automatically.
No.
Like by choosing them. Okay. Maybe I should check.
I can't. I guess I can't bring in field parameters here. So you would say, okay, you want to design a field parameter, bring the field parameter in there. No, this is not how it works. So, but let's start a little bit more. And I say what I can do now. I can bring in a new column, and I say, okay, I bring in the months. So, and I say, okay, I bring in the column months, that I can refer to this column, and the column months is just because we have granularity of the months. Therefore, we can say min of months. So min of date, for example. Or start of months. So min of start of months. So yet now I have my start of months, and I can refer to this value. Obviously, the first filter, it's the same, because now I have always filtered down to all the values over my threshold. But now I come up with a second iteration of summarize, because now I say, okay, var, let's bring in only the single months. Now I can say, okay, I go for a single month and say summarize again. And now I say, okay, what's what I want to summarize? I want to summarize my filter, and I want to summarize it for my months. So now I get everything summarized by this filter, so single line. And now I can count rows not for my filter. I now count rows for my single months. So, and if I'm doing so, now this value should be changed from 13 to 12. And it does so. So now we are making a two-step, so that we're saying, okay, first we are calculating all months which over the threshold, and then we're saying now we are counting all the different months which are over the threshold. Yeah. It's a little bit made up, so but sometimes you need such calculations, and now you see, okay, 31 months are in 3 years over the threshold, and you clearly see these months are not counted because they're not over the threshold in either of both groups. Yeah. What are you thinking about some kind of this?
Yeah, if it has a business case, I understand why you can do it for monitoring reasons. And just thinking just to count the months, wouldn't there be an easier way? So still thinking about it. But okay, this is quite clean because it's still flexible and
Yeah,
you
and I really like the approach that you're going step by step, because first you build the granularity, then you filter it down to the values you need. Then you say, okay, now maybe you can use values here to say, okay, I want to use the values of the months. Then you bring in the single lines and then you count this down. So kind of working quite nice. Obviously, it's not the most common use case, but in some situations, if you want to point out how many mistakes or how many months had some mistake, it's working quite well. Or you can do this with days. So think about, you have a monitoring and you want to say how many days are there without any issue.
Yeah, this is I think it's common in the production environment when you say like we have the 100 days without any
exactly
issues in production.
Yeah, so
And,
that's something, but obviously you have to think about the granularity. So if there are no questions on this, and I really like how simple DAX looks and what it's doing behind.
when you still think in this virtual table and filter thing, then it's easy. But it was quite interesting how you started with the normal business user. DAX is too hard for them. Let's show visual calculations.
Yeah.
And now we are still in some virtual table thing, but I understand why. And maybe like it's still a little bit real not no code stuff, but for the persons who maybe this summarize and filter is too hard, then we can still copy the DAX from visuals, right? Because when you just create a normal table and then use the performance analyzer to create DAX code, and now you can show it in the DAX query view. Okay, this will be a little bit more complicated table, but
it's
will
doing
still
the
work.
same. It's doing the same.
When you just look, just maybe just check this one, and then it's quite fast even, and then you can just say, okay, let me show this in the DAX query view. And interesting thing. Okay, that's, this is because of your okay, the summarized columns, is still somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And that's the same as you have created. So it's, for me, it's still kind of a quick measure version for this kind of DAX stuff. But obviously here, this is a little bit more complicated. But so not the perfect example, but so just learn summarize. Don't use this.
But
No.
let's have a look. So because normally summarize columns is better, but I can't use it here.
Yeah.
So if you bring in summarize columns, it will not work. Even if I use the right setup, it will say, "Ooh, I don't want to do this," or it works. They changed something.
And does it look easier now? Can you
Yeah,
check
it's
it?
I got rid of the table
Yeah, yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
So now I just summarize columns and got rid of the
Mhm.
table reference. So maybe they changed something for the summarize columns, but we can test this easily.
Yeah.
So I can bring in this value and I can say, okay, let's have a look for dimension, how this looks for different countries. So I can bring in country. And yeah, they changed it.
Oh, nice.
So summarize columns now working in the same context as you could use the summarize approach. So summarize columns now is working. This is nice because until I don't know which months, summarize column would not work in the same context, because it would always say it can't accept any external context somehow. So, but now, as you can see, you can use summarize columns and it will exactly work the same as summarize. So obviously in the backend, summarize columns do a little bit different things to summarize. But for creating virtual tables, you now can use summarize columns in measures. Nice. Very, very nice.
Cool.
So we learned something new.
Yeah.
At least me learned something new.
Not an undocumented update, right? So
I read from Jerry Wang that he said something with summarize columns, but I'm not sure if it was this. And I had not the time to read in detail, but obviously, as you can see, summarize columns working now in measures. Nice. Next thing is we have to do a performance check if summarize columns is better performing than the summarize function.
I think so, right? No?
Yeah, because
you can just scroll down because your big one was refreshed afterwards, right? So
yeah,
this.
I could do it like this. If I bring in
Okay.
this one here, and now let's copy the tape. I can bring in the following. I still
Just
have my
switch and the field parameter. No.
I just have this one here. I can copy my old statement, new measure, and let's bring it in. Control V, name it with summarize. So let's bring in the same visual. Okay. It's the old one. It was the old one. I didn't, but I can bring in easily this one. So Control Z, Control. No. Yeah. Okay. And now I can bring back the summarize. If I use summarize and now bring back in my table. So this is the difference between summarize and the use and summarize columns. So now I should get the same numbers in both. Let's clean this. So you see the same numbers. I can bring this a little bit higher. Okay. DAX is 30. Yeah, I would assume that the summarize is a little bit slower. So here it's a little bit slower than here.
But it's not, right? No, it is slower. Yeah, you're right.
Slower. Yeah. So this is
We can retry to make it more fact-based, but
it's 40.
yeah.
Yeah, so, but
Yeah, it's still too small to
yeah. So
be
it's
really sure. And now it's completely different. Because something is cached there and
yeah. Obviously,
still,
not the best thing to do. But however,
yeah.
so I guess we can have a look deeper into this, how summarize compares to summarize columns and to values, because often you can also use a values function for some of the stuff. But obviously, I used in a lot of cases summarize columns. I now can use summarize columns for a lot of the virtual table stuff. Quite interesting.
Yeah, so maybe we can show it in the next session, as we decided that we do at least 6 of this kind of sessions.
But we now have to show something else, what
Okay.
we spoiled before.
Okay. The info.
Yeah, we have to show it. So in my favorite info function is evaluate. Not this one. So I have to bring an evaluate info point view and really cool measures. And if you do it, you get you get your table with all the measures. And the cool stuff is, if you have good descriptions, you also get the descriptions. What is the description for your measure? And cool thing is, there was a discussion Markus had and LinkedIn the use of a fact table or the use of the measure table. As you can see in this model, because it's my training model, I use both approaches at some time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you have
and
so
I'm
many
not.
pages.
Hmm?
I think I have never seen a report with more pages than yours.
You mean the 70 or 80?
No, the report. Yeah. The report pages you have.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, it's in trainings models it is like this, that you have some measures are in effects and some measures are at the measure table. But Markus' approach is like also to hide all the other columns of facts. And just to be a fact as a fact. So
I really like this. It's I used both approaches so far, and obviously there are some advantages of the one and there's some advantage for the other thing. And for me, I'm not so saying this is right or this is right. In the end, it's really depends on what you want to do with your table and how you can work with it. And so, but what we want to show, you can also bring in, if you say new table, I can say info measure equals info point dot view, and I can say measures. And the cool thing is, this is a way how you can bring in a self-documenting.
I was not expecting this, but it's disappeared. Okay, unexpected error. Maybe we should just try again.
So maybe it's not enabled, but it should be enabled at some point.
I have tested it. I think so.
So maybe I used something wrong.
Maybe I should. I will check in parallel. Because this is interesting for me.
So actually, this should work. So, normally, if you're using this, you should getting a table. What's looking like
already
this table, and it's really cool because if you have this table, this calculated table in your data, then you have some kind of documentation. And the good thing is the documentation is based on your model. This means if you're changing something and if getting refreshed, then also the documentation for this stuff here getting refreshed. But I'm not sure why this.
Yeah, I can show it. So maybe it's something about your model, because I also
I've overloaded.
let's check it, because I have already done it, but I have done it for the columns, and I know my demos are way uglier than yours. But this is nice. You can adjust this highlight and then the marker, and so you can build like something that looks like a snake. And there's a new filter with lots
Wow.
of colors. Okay, but this is not the thing I wanted to show. I wanted to show this table, the documentation table that has
Yeah.
the view columns, but I think it wouldn't hurt just
Yeah.
to create a new one for the measures. So maybe it's a bug, but mhm. Oh no, it works. Maybe you have some description that is longer than, I don't know, 4,000. Oh, maybe long measures. Might this be a problem?
There's a cap
I
of
don't know if, but there is, but I don't know if it's 4,000 characters. Don't quote me on this, but I think there is some kind of a limit. So maybe because of your nested measures with all these kinds of virtual tables and stuff,
Okay.
something is too long. But I have already seen, when you have this info functions for partitions, for example, then they're getting really big. So the
Okay.
the limit is very high. So let's check
Okay.
this. The tables and then info. It's not tables, it's partitions, but it's I think the partitions. Do they have the view? No. But what are they in the tables? Because at some
I have
of
no
them there
partitions in
is.
my data. There are no partitions.
Yeah, but when there are no partitions, you just see the M code. This was like the funniest thing about, but yeah, they're only not the pretty info view, but only the old school info function.
Okay.
And then you can see but I could also make it into a table, and here you will find the M code. So
Yeah, I know.
think,
It's like the
and
shared expressions you can see
yeah,
in. This is cool.
maybe I just do it, and because M code can be very long, right? So it's just interesting to see if there's
But
any limit. But
what you also can do, and this could, you can also connect against your semantic model if you're querying this. This is also possible. With Power Query, you can also query this if you're going against the semantic model.
Yeah.
But this is getting a little bit nerdy.
Yeah, Markus has a cool tutorial. Dude, I just tried the partition stuff, but I think it's not tableable. No.
And
So
I have
is not
something
working,
really,
but
really cool.
here you have, because, there might be big M code here, for example. And this would be interesting to see if it's cut down or not. So let me. Okay, it's not long enough. So you can check up here. It's still small. I think some of your measures are bigger. So maybe we should test it with some really crazy long
with smaller models.
code.
Okay.
But I think there is a reason why partitions cannot be used in a table, and the other documentations can be.
I have another thing I want to show, and I
Okay,
really like this.
one more nugget.
One more nugget.
For Markus and Ulrich.
Yes, at least for them. But Ulrich already knows this. Can you bring my screen back?
Yes. Oh, the new map. Yeah.
Yeah, the new map. And this is an old use case of mine. So it's the so-called Stolpersteine in Germany. and you see where a victim of the National Socialism lived before he was killed. And the coolest, not the data is obviously not cool in sense of, but something I can do now, I can different filters. And for example, I can make like this kind of selection, and now it's filtering down all people in this radius. I get the info, I get how many, I get the city parts, really cool. But something I like even more, obviously you can do the same with a rectangle, and you can also do the same with some kind of
This is nice.
yeah, this is cool, but the coolest thing is this one. So now I can set up something, and I go for some. Let's do my area here. So here or something here. Should live here, I guess. And I can say, okay, how many Stolpersteine are in a radius of one? I can also say 100. Let's say 1 meter. Let's say 500 meter. And if I say search, now it shows me everything in a radius of 500 meter I can reach from there by street. So this is really, really cool. And now I can also do the same, not also for time. And if I set something and say 15 minutes, now it shows me everything I can reach with a car in 15 minutes, theoretically, with good traffic. This is really cool because this enables a lot of analytics where you're using spatial data and spatial filtering.
Yeah. So if you use maps, then this can be a good way.
And also something what is new, you can bring in a traffic layer.
Yeah, it's getting more and more like operative software.
And now you see where there are traffic jam, and you can analyze your data. So because then, I guess if you bring in more and more information in your car, in your maps, then using maps making sense because you're adding additional value from the spatial data to your data. So it's enriching of your data basically. And something where you can use this stuff is for sales representatives which have to drive by cars. They can see where the biggest customers, and they can get an information about the routes and about what they visit next. So this is really, really cool.
So you may ask, okay, why it should be inside of an analytical report, but still when you go from data to action, and it's always like many people talk about actionable data, and there might be that you have some analytics here, and then the way to action is quite easy when the action is something physical to make something.
And obviously the connection between places and information which are attributed to places and your analytical data, it's really near. And therefore in the days you had a lot of GIS systems, and I guess Microsoft will bring in a lot of features what you previous could do in GIS systems, what you later can be done here. For example, something you could do in Tableau is a spatial join, so that you can join dots in areas, and by the spatial join, the data knew, okay, I'm in this area, meaning this data is connected to me.
Yeah.
For example, if your branch or your location is somewhere in a region, by a spatial join, this means you can get the data based on a region attributed to your location. And I guess this is something what's coming up and what will be nice at some point. Okay, this was my last.
Yeah, so if someone's interested in spatial data and that there are use cases, Azure Maps has a big update.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are still exploring what is
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
is possible with
because
Azure Maps. So.
I told there are use cases, but there are not that many that we're only working with this. And so, yeah, if anyone has a special project, reach out to Michael. Okay, but yeah, I think we are over 1 hour now. So thanks to Markus and Ulrich and everyone else who has watched. And yeah, I think we should do it
Yes.
next month too. And thanks, Michael, for the cool examples today.
Yeah, you're
See
welcome.
you again.
See you. Goodbye.